Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very accomplished professional from the world of marketing from Indore, India, Vyanjana Sharma. Vyanjana, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, it's a privilege to be here for
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you. Vyanjana is the co-founder and creative director at Integra Magna. She's also a mentor at ADP List. Vyanjana is a branding consultant who has forged a successful career through a relentless pursuit of self-improvement and staying abreast of the latest design trends and techniques. So Vyanjana, before we talk branding, tell me a little bit about your own journey in brief.
Sure. So I started my journey back in 2015 in this domain when I actually joined a company named Witty now widely renowned as Stage App. As an intern in graphic designing, and after 6 months of internship, I joined the same company as a graphic designer, paved my way to being the lead of the entire team for like next 2 years. Grabbed as much of knowledge that I could from there, from different horizons, I would say, and dropped from the company and started my own venture named as I Am Designs initially. So like since then I've been working with quite a few clients and learned. So I'm a self-taught designer. So I've been learning from my clients, people who have joined my team itself, and having different conversation with people like you. So like this has been like really great. In terms of clientele, I've been working with Marriott, many SMEs, many MNCs clients as well. So Marriott, Boat, Titan, Tata, and the list goes on. And like I'm still young, so looking forward to a lot more such clientele as well.
There's a lot that you can look forward to, I'm sure. So let's
Definitely.
talk branding now, Vyanjana.
Sure.
Uh,
Sure.
Based on your own experience, what are some of the core elements of a successful brand?
Okay. So I believe, like, obviously, there's a list which goes on, but for me, I think there are three major things when it comes to creating a successful brand. One is a very clear vision, like, what, like answering all the whys, all the W's, I would say. So, like, why, what, whom, where, everything. So, having a very clear vision is a must. And then the second is a clarity of that vision within the team itself. I mean, that is really important. So once you have like these two things in place, you already have a successful company, because then your team is aligned with your vision and they are working accordingly. So you have a successful company. The third part comes in where you actually want your successful company to be a successful brand, I would say, right? Or if I have to mention, like a successful company to be a brand, right? So for that, I think visual strategy is also one of the major key elements which plays role to convert a company to a brand. So I think, yes, these three things must be in place if you want your company to be a successful brand.
Fantastic. What a great response. Thank you, Vyandra. My next question is that, you named some very marquee brands who you work with.
Yes.
What is the typical branding process that you follow when you work with a client?
Okay, so it actually depends on like what type of project I'm working on and what type of client it is, because there's very different understanding of what branding is among the people which I work with. So for me, if I'll say, I usually follow this 5P rule, which actually implements in, I would say, like in business strategies. But I guess for me, it I can implement it anywhere when it comes to design too. So 5Ps starts with what's the purpose. So first is the purpose, second is the personality, third comes with the perception, fourth is positioning, and fifth is promotion. So by purpose, I mean, what is the purpose of the brand or the company, why they are doing what they are doing, what is their target audience. So all the research part comes in place in the first step. Then comes the ideation part, where the second P enters, that is defining a personality, the aura of the brand, like what would be the target audience of your product, what would be the target audience of your service. And third is the perception, what perception of your company or of your product you want to create in the market, right? So that is the third thing.
Right.
Once these three things are in place, then we move on to actually designing something, or creating marketing strategies. And that's where the fourth peak enters, that is positioning. So what sort of positioning I want to do based on my research and ideation that I have done so far. So after positioning, of course, then it depends on the client I'm working with, what amount of investment they want to do in the promotion. That is the final part of it.
Correct. Very well explained. Thank you. And another question that I had, Vyanjana, was that, and we've all been through startups. I've done 2 startups, been part of large companies.
Yes.
As a designer, as a creative director, what are some of the common branding mistakes a lot of entrepreneurs and companies make?
The first mistake itself is not having the clear understanding of what branding is. So, like, in terms of SMEs, I would say, so the new budding brands or companies, they, come to designers, standalone designers agencies, and just say that, we need some visual identity to be created. But like, the initial stage of research, and why do they want it, what solution are they getting out of it, or what is branding itself, is not clear to them. So that not a very good clarity on the concept itself is the first mistake they do, and they directly jump onto just creating a logo, and then doing all the boosting and everything on social media, but they do not have a clear pipeline of why they want to do it, why, like, what will it solve for them. So I guess this is the major mistake that I have seen so far in a lot of companies. So they do invest a good chunk of money, but they don't get good output out of it. And then they wonder what's going wrong.
Well said. And, when I was growing up, in marketing, I'm talking of 40 years ago, we used to talk about full page ads, huge billboards. If we had a lot of money, maybe a cinema film. Today, everything has gone digital. So my question to you, Vyanjana, is how has the rise of digital and social media changed branding strategies?
Massively. I mean, see, as you mentioned, that initially it was all billboards, it was all newspaper. So the access to the global market was not that much, or it was at a very heavy cost, right? You have to invest too much to access a larger audience. These days it's quite easy. You have to be very to the point and understand what is going viral. You have to understand content and your target audience, and that's pretty much it. You can reach a massive audience using this digital age, using all the social media platforms,
Right.
and expand your horizons in that matter.
Well said. And how important is storytelling when it comes to branding, and how do you incorporate it into your brand strategy?
So I guess storytelling is something which works more for product based companies, or I guess it also depends on the vision that founders and co-founders have. So when it comes to storytelling, not I have seen a lot of companies which are not incorporating any sort of certain story in their branding itself. But on the other hand, a lot of massive brands are there who are actually successful because of the stories that they communicate, right? So I believe for product based companies, definitely it matters a lot. So just to give you an example, I work with a company called Prestige, and they have this vertical Prestige Rasoi in FMCG sector. So usually you'll see that in FMCG, people, in terms of creating branding for themselves, they initially just work on what the product is, right? There is no certain incorporation of any story to it. But
Right.
when it comes to marketing those products, they incorporate different campaigns where they do the storytelling. So for Prestige Rasoi, we have created this mascot, which is a mother genie, right? So the concept itself is that there is a mother in every household, or a mother like figure, who is a genie when it comes to, cooking food or creating something. And by that I mean, it's not necessary that it should be a female figure only. Like, it could be the father, dadaji, and anyone. So such storytelling, I believe, definitely incorporates that emotional connect with the TG, and we get good response out of it. So we incorporate it in the branding and then in the marketing as well. So to build that emotional connect, especially in Indian market, I think it plays a really good role to create a brand aura
Very well.
around it.
Very well said. Thank you. My next question to you, Vyanjana, is that there are some brands that last 100 years. There are some brands that die within 1 year. What, in your view, are some of the reasons these kind of brands, some brands resonate more with consumers and some don't?
True. I guess the initial two things which I mentioned, the clarity of vision, and second, which I recently mentioned, is the emotional connect.
Right.
So every brand which is there since 100 years, they have some sort of emotional connect, some sort of emotional trigger to consistently build an audience for, such a long period of time. And by emotional connect, I mean, it could be any sort of emotion. It could be you being happy, you being sad, you being frustrated about it, and then going to a certain product and utilizing it, being angry about it, like any sort of emotion. That always plays a key role in terms of using a certain product or a brand for a longer period of time, and even referring to, your like youngsters who are coming in, and your other relatives, and actually increasing the life cycle, the time span of that brand itself.
Well said. And you mentioned a few minutes ago that now, because of digital and social media, brands can look at nationwide and maybe even international.
True.
For a young company like Integra Magna and a designer like you, what are some of the challenges you see when you look at so many different states of India, different cultures, different languages? How do you tackle that?
So I believe the challenges comes in the marketing stage for sure. So we cannot just, create a campaign with a standard language or a standard concept. I mean, we have to put in efforts to understand the regional aspect as well. So that is definitely something that, we have to put in a lot of efforts in terms of understanding the TG of that regional area. So and it takes time as well. So in terms of our process, when we create some sort of campaign for a client of any sort of brand, definitely we take more time while we do the research, when we have to create a campaign for the entire nation, and also pitch it to the client that you have to invest a different campaign or a certain amount of money for that matter in this particular area, and we have to change it or alter or do some certain modifications according to either the language or the visual identity, like what type of poster we are creating. Let's say for a festival, it could be very different when we go towards the south, it could be very different when we go towards the north, and like in different regions. So I guess marketing wise, definitely the region aspect comes in picture and take a lot of effort to create a successful campaign, I would say.
Well said. My other question to you, Vyanjana, and we are now a nation of startups, small and medium enterprises. A lot of startups spend a lot of their money in actually building a business, but very few spend money in being able to handle branding.
True.
So my question is, how should startups and SMEs with limited budgets handle branding, especially in early stages?
Right. So I actually quite relate to this certain question, because I get a lot of queries in terms of having, budget restrictions, or maybe regional restrictions, in terms of that certain client wants to expand their business just to a certain limit itself. So like when it comes to creating the complete branding strategy or visual strategy for them, I actually start with educating them, like why they need a certain type of branding, and what all elements they actually need at the initial stage to groom themselves, and to expand, instead of just telling them a list of things that you need this, you need that, you need all other elements as well, which probably at the initial stage they do not, they actually cannot take leverage of. So initially I clear the branding concept itself. Second, I make them understand that you need to have a very clear customer understanding, like who is your customer, what why do you need a certain type of branding to address that certain customer or audience. Then the third is, I suggest them to actually do, incorporate consistent branding elements and leverage different type of platforms. So for them, especially I'm talking about SMEs, for them branding ends after the creation of logo or some initial collateral itself, right? They do not understand that it is just a visual identity. Your company will become a brand once you understand the target audience, once you pitch your product to the target audience, once you start taking leverage of the digital platform, once you actually focus on quality rather than quantity, and you start building the network and start doing partnerships. Like once you reach that stage, that is when your company will start turning into a brand. So this is what I try to educate them at the initial stage, so that they can decide what budget they actually need to put in when it comes to, again, becoming a brand.
Well said. Great response. So I think I have time for two more questions for you.
Sure.
Just before we started recording, we were talking of technology.
Yes.
And I have seen a lot of young people like you they're so comfortable with technology. My question to you is, how is technology being used for branding, and how do you think technology will change branding?
Okay. I think by technology, I would say definitely there are multiple things which are coming in the picture. But obviously AI is the
big
term
thing right now.
Right. So it has to be incorporated if you want to go to the next era, right? You have to adapt it. And like, I think that if you incorporate it at the initial stage itself, it is a bliss. Why? Because you save time, you save energy, and more than that, you become more productive. So instead of just resisting yourself that, the AI is doing everything, use it to your advantage. So when it comes to branding, initially what used to happen is that while we are in the research stage, we have to go to different multiple surveys, articles, and different platforms to collect all the data in terms of what is already there in the market, and how can we be different and ideate on it.
Right.
So AI itself help us to accumulate all that data all together in like literally one click. So it saves a lot of time. It gives you like, probably manually you won't be able to get that much of data which AI provides you. So in research part, it actually helps you in massively. The second part where they which where we incorporate AI is prototyping, right? So time of course is the major element, and like in prototyping I would say that AI itself provides a lot of ideas where, or I would say the scratch point where we can begin with in terms of building the entire concept. It gives you the direction as well, where on which you can actually think on or brainstorm with the client itself. So I think definitely that AI plays huge role in terms of being productive and creating a unique identity for a brand.
Well said. And Vyanjana, my last question to you, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation.
Yes.
Based on your own understanding of marketing and branding, what would you say are 3 lessons you would want a lot of our young viewers and listeners to take away?
Okay. Okay, like listing down 3 would be a bit tough, but I'll try for sure.
Yeah.
So one would be get like to the people who are starting their business or who are designers or in this field basically. I would say whatever you are going to begin with, first get a very good clarity. First understand the vision. First understand all the W's, why, what, where you want to be. Once you get a good grasp of it, there is no stopping. Like you will find different ways when you know why you are doing it.
Right.
So like get a very good understanding of the vision. Second is adapt AI. It there could be a lot of negative things around it for sure. I mean, like fake news and all those things, but figure out how you can actually take good advantage of it and uh, use it in your day to day basis as well, because if whether you like it or not, it is going to be there. How you can use it is the best thing that you can do and take it for your advantage. So that would be the second. And third, I would say for the businesses, understand the importance of visual strategies. Visual strategies is not just creating a good design for your business or a very beautiful poster, whatever creative you want to do. Like your visual strategy will actually make your successful you could be earning in crores, but people might not be aware of what your brand is or what your company is, right? So your visual strategy is something which will actually convert your company to a successful brand, to something which is renowned by multiples. So understand the value of it. I mean, that would help you out to become a successful brand for sure.
Fantastic. And on that note, Vyanjana, and your 3 amazing lessons, get clarity of vision, understand your W's, adapt AI. Third, you said was understand the importance of visual strategy. Thank you so much for speaking to me about your journey. Thank you for talking to me about what are the core elements of building a successful brand, which were vision, team buy-in, and visual strategy. Thank you for speaking to me about the 5 P's of branding. Thank you also for speaking to me at such length about so many different aspects of branding. I'm sure a lot of takeaways from our conversation will be appreciated by our viewers and listeners. Thank you again and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for inviting me and actually allowing me to, speak on all these verticals. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.